Salford have moved Tuilola here onto Huddersfield, who've moved Aidan Caesar onto Leeds, who've moved Luke Gale onto Hull, who've moved Mark Sneyd onto Salford, and we asked people who'd got the best out of that, that group of transactions, and actually, the voters felt that Aidan Caesar was the player they'd rather have at their club the most in 2022. That 57%, 58% nearly people went Aidan Caesar, 27% went Mark Sneyd, 8% went Gale, and 7% went Lola here. So it looks like everyone feels that Leeds and Salford have done the best out of this. That's ignoring the fact that Huddersfield will also sign Theo Farge, who I think is an outstanding signing for them, but there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the Luke Gale that played for, was it 2015 for Castleford, was it?
Sort of 15, 16. I think 16, 17 were his golden years until the appendix blew it right at the end of 17.
Yeah, then fine. But, is he going to spend more time in the Sky commentary box than out on the field?
It does feel quite weird that you weren't prepared to sign a long deal for an aging halfback, and then you sign another aging halfback.
But only for a year.
Yeah, well, maybe so, but yeah,
I mean, the talk is we've got
Gale.
someone signed for 2022, so we just wanted a stopgap. But I'm still not convinced that Reynolds is going to make it back from Australia.
Why do you think he's going to do something stupid?
I don't know. If you had said to me which of 2021 halfbacks for Hull will not be there in 2022, I'd have said Reynolds, no question.
Yeah.
He's not coming back this side of Christmas. The club have allowed him to do all of his rehab in Australia. And I don't know. I just...
Been there, done that. I expect to be underwhelming in attack for the entirety of the next season.
So, I'm not convinced that we'll have Gale and Reynolds.
Okay.
But there we go.
Yep.
Yes. It's fair to mention the halfback merry-go-round. Going back to most overrated player, in second place on the vote was with 11% was the aforementioned Zach Hardacre, and the winner, something I'm slightly surprised by, with 13% of the vote, was Jake Connor. Would you say he's overrated, Sarah? I
take great offence at this. Actually, I think Well, I think some of it comes down to, like Mark said, what gets said about him in the press and by himself to some extent. But when you look at our stats as a team for our performance with him on the pitch and without him on the pitch, I think we only won one game when he wasn't playing. And I think he topped the try assist table, or he was certainly right up there near to the end of the season.
He was involved in something like 48% of tries that were scored, either with the assist or the try scoring, in the games he played. And when you count the games he didn't play, he was still involved in something like 30-odd% of the tries that were scored for Hull. So, and he missed nearly half the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do think that's a harsh one.
Yeah, I agree. For me, last year it was no Connor, no chance for FC. For me that feels very, very harsh.
I think the vote's gone more on the person rather than the player, but I suppose I can't criticise that too much with the description I gave of YFO for Zach Hardacre. But
no.
There will have been an element of that. I think it's just he's a figure people liked and dislike, Jake Connor. I'm surprised he got so many votes when he missed so much of the season, because we haven't had the chance to dislike him as much because he didn't play sort of the last dozen games or so. But yeah, I'm with Sarah on this. I was watching this one closely, and when Connor jumped out to a big lead, then Hardacre crept right back to pretty much level, and then in the last few votes kind of slipped over the line. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another friendly award, best signing. So this is someone who's in their first year at their club, which helpfully next year rules out George Williams for Warrington because he's already played for them this year, so that won't make me feel too bad. Past winners in 2014, Luke Walsh. In 2015, Adam Cuthbertson, apparently looking to go around again in 2022. It's a bit of a surprise. 2016, it was Kurt Gidley. In 2017, it was the postman Matt Parcell. In 2018, Josh Drinkwater when he was at Catalans in the first stint. In 2019, Lachlan Coote for St Helens. In 2020, it was Aidan Caesar. Boy, did that turn around in 2021 with his relationship with the Huddersfield Giants. Into who we went for. David went for Mike McMeekan in his first season at Catalans. I don't think anyone can really challenge that too much. He had a really impressive first season. I went for Ryan Hall. I went for Ryan Hall because I couldn't believe. I mean, I could have gone for him in underrated in a way, but it's hard to say he's underrated when everyone still thought he was as good as he was, apart from anyone who saw him for the last 2 years when he was in Australia. I just couldn't believe the production from the guy. You know, at his age, at the period of time where he's had such poor try scoring record. And I really think he helped tip them over the edge to being the good, exciting, and not quite as stupid as in the past side that Hull KR were. So I went Ryan Hall. Alan and Sarah, you went the same way as each other. Sarah, let me know why you went for the person you went for.
Yeah, so I went for Mason Lena at Wakefield. I remember seeing him very early on and thinking there was just a little bit of something about him that I liked. And I know that they had the change of coach, which obviously had a massive impact on turning their season around, but also I think Lena was very, very influential in it. I think he just brought a different dimension to the Wakefield team, and, you know, combining him with Miller, they're both a little bit off the cuff, but he just provides, I guess, that bit more structure. If it wasn't for the fact that Ryan Hall played for Rovers, I considered voting for him, but, you know.
See, I thought Lena might have been ruled out for you because of that sort of ghost try he scored against you lot when he was clearly offside, and the ball ended up in his hands anyway, and he was offside at the play of the ball, weren't he? And then never got on.
Yeah, he was.
But was allowed to score from the kick. But I suppose that's that part of him where he's got that sort of. He's got that little extra bit, as well as the structure that he can bring, as well as the really good goal kicking that he brought as well.
Yeah.
Alan?
Yeah, I kind of agree with all of those sentiments, really. I saw him a little bit when he played for Newcastle in the NRL. I thought he was decent there, without probably looking like, you know, NRL kind of star quality. So I was impressed when Wakefield announced the signing, to be frank, and I think he's paid them back in terms of the level, the kind of consistency and quality of his performances. I think early on he had a couple of shaky games where he was just kind of getting up to speed, but for me, he was very influential for Wakefield, and obviously particularly when they decided they wanted to play for the coach rather than try and get him sacked. So yeah, for me, he was probably he was the best signing of the selection.
Well, George Williams, Gil Dudson, Luke Yates, Sione Matautia, and Zany Winehouse Tetavano received votes. Mason Leno did get more votes than just you two guys. He just missed out on the top three in the end, but in the top three, 16% of the vote went to Jordan Turner of Castleford, the Swiss Army knife of their back line. Second place was Mike McMeekan with 18% of the votes, but the winner was Ryan Hall with 39% of the votes. Now, I made the first votes, so I didn't just go with who was the most popular to make myself look like I was in with the in crowd on all these.
Yeah, I have to say, I think Jordan Turner was my second choice. It was a bit of a toss-up between the two. I thought Jordan Turner was brilliant this year, on the back of, probably signing with very little expectation. I thought it was brilliant for Cas this year. Yeah,
I think all of those top three were people that I'd considered for sure. But in the end, I just went with the guy that maybe out of the bunch surprised me the most with their performance as well as what they delivered for the team. What about the worst signing, the other side of that coin, Sarah?
Yeah, so we come to some great names.
Oh, what a rogue gallery.
And when I say great names, I mean those ones that, you're saying you even then don't remember them. But the previous winners, 2014, Roy Asatursi. 2015, Chris Sandow. 2016, Berfaloon. 2017, Kevin Brown. 2018, Tyrone Roberts. 2019, Tui Lolahir when he signed for Leeds. And last year, we didn't award a worse signing.
So it's only Warrington and Leeds who've ever won this award. That never occurred to me before.
Well, if the jacket fits.
Yeah.
It speaks volumes, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So David went for Kyle Eastman, but isn't here to defend his vote. Mark, you also went for Kyle Eastman. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, I just think it was stupid. It was a stupid signing, and even with the destined to fail nature that I felt it had, I still thought that, if anything, made me think it was an even worse signing. But when you throw that together with the games he played, I mean, he played a bit of a game against Wigan, and he was so far off it. He realised he was so far off it. He realised he wasn't ready for the comeback or anything like that. But he'd been out of playing and training in a team environment and that sort of stuff for quite a while before Leeds signed him as well as being out of rugby league. He hadn't even played rugby union for a bit. It got so many headlines for something that delivered so little. Like, literally, there was nothing that he did. And it just wasn't to be for him. He was a great player in the past. He was a great, skillful, athletic player who had everything. But turn your back on us, and when you come back, you're just not gonna cope the same. I think David went for him because he still resents him leaving Saints in the first place. What I would have loved to have had David here for is to talk about your choice.
Well, yeah, well, shall I defend? Well, I don't really fully know why I went for him. I just don't really like him. I went for Ignatius Passy. Just don't like him.
I think that's really unfair. I genuinely think Parsy's been Parsyable. Sorry, that's terrible. But he's been a reasonable kind of prop when Walmsley has to go off. I would say.
What I would say about him though is they didn't miss him in the games he missed. But Kyle Amor and LMS were every bit as good as he was, I thought. Apart from one good game in the cup, didn't he?
I think he's just a bit of a dirty player as well that doesn't get pilled up as much as he should.
That's the whole fucking Saints side.
Says the Wigan fan.
But Terry Newton was dirty, but Kieran Cunningham wasn't. But watch Kieran Cunningham's tackle technique. He tried to break people's knees.
So did Sean O'Loughlin.
Yeah. But he broke people's faces. Let's be, if we're going to be throwing stones, let's make sure we're throwing them at the right houses.
To be fair, I think, I'll go on to Alan in a second, but, I could have gone with either of the other two as well. I just sort of clicked, I think.
Yeah, it did feel
So,
like
Alan, do you want to explain your choice?
I went for the other hot favourite, which was Greg Inglis.
He was always going to be the favourite, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Yeah, pre-season favourite for the award, without a doubt.
Yeah, I definitely called this last year. I absolutely definitely called this last year. But yeah, the reason I didn't go for Eastman and the reason I went for Inglis is that Eastman actually admitted it. He actually came up and said, "You know what? I'm not at it."
Yeah.
Where Inglis kind of there's some kind of level of honour in walking away.
Yeah.
For me,